This is the Kickstart Accounting Inc. tax series, where we're going to break down everything you need to know about meals and your tax return. You know the moment where you've enjoyed the most amazing meal. It comes down time to pay for it. Who pays for it? Do you pay for it? Does your business? My name is Danielle Hayden, CPA, CEO, and founder of Kickstart Accounting Inc. We have worked with thousands of business owners using bookkeeping as a vehicle to help business owners better manage their business and use their numbers to grow and thrive. Now, if you're a longtime listener, you've heard me say we can't only use our numbers at tax time. We can't only know our numbers and our bookkeeping just to file our taxes. We really need to use our numbers to manage our business throughout the year. However, our taxes and our tax liability, our tax strategies are an important piece of knowing your numbers. That's why we've done this entire series. And so I want, when you walk away from this video, I promise you that you're going to have the confidence to take what you deserve and stop missing out on tax deductions. I want you to be able to maximize your tax deductions while protecting yourself. We've all been in that important moment when it's time to pay the bill. I want you to picture yourself in the setting. Beautiful restaurant that you've been thinking about going to for months. You finally got a reservation and it is everything that you thought it would be. The most amazing atmosphere, the dim lights, amazing customer service, warm butter and bread, an amazing juicy steak, lobster mashed potatoes, the fine wine, and dessert. My favorite is always tiramisu or a creme brulee. You have thoroughly enjoyed yourself that evening, connecting with the people at your table while having the most amazing dinner. And then the bill comes. And it's time to decide, are you going to pull out your business credit card or your personal? Who pays for this meal? Now, as a business owner, you have the ability to deduct meals on your tax return, but it's important to know which meals are tax deductible and which are not so that you can make this decision before you even order that meal and stay protected from the IRS while taking what you deserve as a business owner. So here's my conversation with Kelsey Chester, where we'll break down everything you need to know about meals before you take a single bite of that juicy steak. Kelsey, welcome back to the show.
Thank you. It's actually been quite a while, so I'm so excited to be here.
I'm really excited to have you. I want our listeners to walk away from this episode really confident that they can take what they deserve and not miss out, that they can maximize their tax deductions, all while really protecting themselves. And I think that we have this old school mentality around meals and entertainment, and that, I was at a conference and I was sitting next to this gentleman. He was going on and on about all of the entertainment that he was doing and golf trips. I mean, it was insanity. And then we were ordering food and he ordered the lobster mashed potatoes, the fancy bottle of wine, dessert for the whole table. And the whole time he kept on talking about how it was a tax deduction. So I'm watching this guy eat his steak. Yes, it was delicious. The meal was fantastic, but let's buy it because we want to have a fantastic meal, not because it's a business deduction or a tax. Like, I feel like he was eating his taxes as I watched this guy eat.
That is a classic example of spending $1 to save 25 cents.
It really is. It is. Let's help clear this up for business owners, because also during COVID, there were some changes to meals. I think the IRS really wanted us to help our local restaurants and small businesses, but a lot's changed now. So let's talk about what is 100% tax deduction when we're looking at meals.
You're allowed 100% of every dollar that you spend as a deduction for company holiday parties, if you have summer picnics out, team building events. I know that we have a lot of clients who have those throughout the year for building relationships. It's also a great strategy for employee retention. Another example is going to be food and beverages given out to the public, maybe for an event that you're having, or dinner for employees that are working late at the office. That's the important part here. That's 100% deduction. Or if a meal is an important part of your business function. So, for an example, if you're a food critic or a food blogger, then for the purpose of your work, that meal would be 100% business deduction.
We have some opportunity to have 100% tax deduction on our meals. I know we do some in-person events at Kickstart. We have our leadership team that gets together. Last year we did it twice. This year we're looking to try to do it quarterly. And those meals together are considered a 100% tax deductions. But it's different when we're having meals with our clients or we are having meals at conferences or for work. So let's talk about what are the items that we can only take at 50%.
That's right. So you're only allowed half the deduction for all of the other types of meals. So meals with clients, those are only 50%. Meals at a conference, like you just mentioned, those are only 50%. We get asked a lot.
50% of this guy's steak and lobster mashed potatoes, okay?
Yeah. Not worth it. And this is a question that we get a lot is, what if I have a meal with my spouse, but we discuss business? Okay, but that's only a 50% deduction. And the IRS does require that you keep receipts for all meals and write at the top of the receipt who you had that meal with and what you discussed. So just an important note on that as well.
Yeah, I think that's an important one and kind of leads us right into our framework. So how do we use this on an ongoing basis? Because I don't want anyone to forget about this. So every time you sit down at a table and you are having this meal and you're deciding which card to pick up, right? Like you're carrying around your business card and your personal card. I want you to think about who is there and what is the purpose of the meeting, right? Like what really did you discuss at that table? Because you are going to need to document who attended, the business purpose, the date, the tip and the total, and the restaurant name. So we need to have all of that information. And then, Kelsey, what's your stance on receipts? I think, technically from the IRS perspective, we need to have receipts that are over $75, but what's your thoughts on receipts?
Yes. So I'll throw the information out there of yes, you are required by the IRS to keep all receipts over $75 and all meal receipts. Now, they do say that an electronic copy of your receipt is sufficient. So you could snap a photo, scan it, save it to your Dropbox or whatever electronic folder you have, and you don't have to have the physical copy. This is going to be one of those cases where your risk tolerance comes in. If you are just going to kind of hope for the best and you don't want to keep all of the receipts, that's up to your personal, tolerance threshold. But that is the IRS guideline.
And then how about from a bookkeeping perspective? So I want to make sure that we provide clarity, especially for our clients as we're talking about meals. I think we do a pretty good job of when we see meals for our clients of putting them to the correct meal category. The information that you would want to communicate with your money team and your bookkeeper would be if you normally operate an online business and then you bring your team into town for an event or that you're traveling somewhere, right? Like that you're doing something very specific so that they can categorize it correctly.
Yes. And for bookkeeping purposes, I know for our team, if you are purchasing meals for your team, we will probably red flag it because we're going to see that amount is very high for a meal. So we'll probably ask you about it, say, hey, what was this meal for? Because from that amount, it's kind of a red flag for us. And we'll bring it to your attention to know whether it should be 100% meal or a 50% meal. And I will say, as far as the keeping of receipts, it only matters in the case of an audit. And it really depends on whose desk that audit lands on. So we've seen quite a few audits in our day. It's just a kind of a fact of life. And there's some auditors that are such a stickler about the receipts. They will take away the deduction if you don't have the receipt to present to them. And then there's others that just will take your, bank statement as sufficient and move on. So there's not a black and white answer on whether you should or shouldn't, but just what the guidelines are.
And then also, let's be clear, if you are audited and they decide not to take the meal deduction, like you can't take it, they're not throwing you in jail, right? Like I think there's so much anxiety around the IRS. Like you're not landing in, I guess, look, don't go fly a plane. And you get what I'm saying. Like, you don't need to be over the top. They're going to take away the deduction. You're going to pay the taxes, the penalties, and interest on it. You're not going to land in jail because you paid for some meals, right? So we can like rest our shoulders a little bit. This is important. This is serious, but this isn't so serious that I want you to miss out on any deduction. So I think there's finding a balance between stop trying to deduct every meal that you have as a business owner. So every time you go out to eat, it is not a business expense. We have some clients who, when I look at their meals, I'm like, you are trying to deduct every meal that you have. And so stop trying to do that. You only get 50% of your meals. So 50% of your meals will be considered a draw. So as an S Corp, if you are not paying yourself a reasonable salary, you should not be taking draws. So I'd rather you pay yourself a reasonable salary and pay for some of your meals on your own than having 50% of that goes to draws and be in a situation where you shouldn't be taking draws in the first place.
That's right. We hope that provides some clarity around the meals for your business and what you can deduct and how much.
All right, Kelsey, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
If you enjoyed today's episode, I asked for you to do one thing in return. I would love if you could like and subscribe and share this podcast episode with one other person who can use this information. I am looking forward to our podcast next week. We'll see you there.